Here I am. Let me just make sure we got enough light in here. Hopefully we do. We're doing some construction, and so therefore want to make sure that we have some light in here this evening. But welcome, and welcome once again to the Sonya Dungee podcast, where conversation is always the essence of the soul. I am your host, Sonya Dungee, and yes, still bringing that heat to the IG, the Facebook, the YouTube, and now the TikTok streets. So I see you. I see you coming in. I just want to make sure that I can view you on all platforms. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I want you to know that I do see you. I see you coming in. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. And I see Florida is in the building. Welcome. Miami's in the building. Thank you so much for joining. I see you. I am so I so am appreciative of all of you. North Carolina is in the building. Jacksonville's in the building as well. DC, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. And as always, I appreciate you. And thank you so much for doing the check-ins when you don't see me pop up right away. I appreciate that as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot to talk about this evening. And I'm so excited about so many things that's coming down the pipeline for us all. So first of all, this evening, episode 189, which is A Broken Crayon Still Colors, without guilt, without shame, without blame. My hope for you tonight is that when you leave, you'll have a greater awareness and you'll have the validity that is needed, that you know that it's more than okay to put color back into your world. So, with that being said, you'll have 4 definitions and an example of each, as well as later on in the evening, you will have 5 steps to follow. So, when it comes to grief and guilt and shame and blame, they're all very deep rooted feelings. Okay. They are feelings, they are deep rooted. We know of them. All right. And so I want us to be clear in our understanding. So the first one is definition of grief. So grief is more of the reaction to a loss, such as a loved one's passing, someone becoming an empty nester, or a job loss, or even divorce, just to name a few of them. And in that, when it comes to grief, we all know there's no manuals, there's no instructions, and there's no limitations on grief either. And these are things that I had to find out. I had no idea. There was no resources that I knew of. There were resources, but there was none that I knew of in order to go and get the help that I needed in my time of grief. Okay. And we know it to be a very painful process, and it manifests in various situations. And so, with the first one I want to talk about is the shame. Okay. The shame. And in that shame is the occurrence that it's part of the grieving process, but it has a very negative tone to it. Okay. And it is the biggest feeling when you're grieving. And in that you feel that it's not being carried out correctly. You're not grieving a loss the correct way. Um, and with that comes those feelings that we're about to talk about now. Okay. So, in the shame, a griever can feel that criticism or even being criticized from others. And that's known as the grief shaming. Okay. Grief shaming. And we're going to go on a little more in depth in a minute. But in that, when you're going through the shame, blame game, you also feel like a burden to others. And a lot of the times, the things that that are discussed, and in my situation, a lot of things that I've heard, a lot of things that we've talked about in the podcast, a lot of the things that I've shared with you, it sounds like those feelings. I tried to put myself out there and really be transparent, because there's some of you that are going through it or has gone through it or will go through it or knows people who are going through it or has gone through it. And it's a very hard thing to deal with. So in my situation, a lot of these things sounds like the feelings that I had during my grief stage. And for me, that was approximately 5 years ago. So for me, my story began on January 23rd of 2021 at the Veterans Administration Hospital in Northport, New York, on a Saturday, 12 p.m. I'll never forget it as long as I live, during the height of the pandemic. Okay. As I sat at my dad's bedside in a place where, quite frankly, I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be in the room. I didn't want to sit by him. I didn't want to hold his hand. I didn't want to look at him. And it wasn't, please understand that it wasn't because I didn't love my dad. It was because I started to go in the denial of, if I do this, I know what's going to happen. If I sit here, I know what's going to happen. If I hold my dad's hand, if I look in his face, I know what's about to happen. So if I excuse myself from the situation, and then if I don't show up and if I'm not present, it's not going to happen. Well, that's not the case at all. Okay. So as I sat by my dad's bedside reluctantly, holding his hand and looking first at his eyes, and I saw the cheek. I saw the tears start from his eye and roll down to his cheek. And it was in that very moment that I saw my dad take his very last breath here on this earth, knowing he was taking his first breath in heaven. And because of that, um, I spiraled out of control immediately. And when I say immediately, I had to be dragged out of there. I had to be dragged down the hall to my dad, because I didn't want to be there knowing what was going to happen. And I was in that denial. And I had to be dragged back out of there because I just couldn't feel. I spiraled out of control, like I said, immediately. I went into that dark place, and that's where I remained for the 342 days with the weight loss, and with the doing the same thing, like that gerbil, or that um hamster on a wheel, if you may. Just do the same thing over and over and over and over again and again until another. And that went on for 342 days. The running to the cemetery, the isolation, the not wanting to talk to anybody, not wanting to see anybody, not spending time with my three beautiful grandchildren. Now I have four that I'm blessed with, but I wasn't spending family time, friend time, wasn't going anywhere. And I was a traveler. I wasn't doing any of that. Okay. And when I did take the one trip that was planned, I did not want to go. My my sister Rosalinda had a conversation with me, and and ironically, it was the same kind of conversation that my dad had with her after my mama, which is her mom, passed away. And after those 342 days, and after the crying and closed doors and doing all of those things, and my perspective changed, because enough became enough and I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I said so many times in my share before, it was not conducive to my well-being. It wasn't conducive to my health, to my family life, to anything. My self-care, my self-love was so limited. It was just the basic necessities of showering, throwing whatever on, walking across my living room into my shisha room, doing my jobbing for the day, shutting everything down, walking back across the living room into my bedroom, shutting the door. And like I said, after my perspective changed and enough became enough, that's when my life forever changed. Okay. So when we reference the shame, I didn't want to burden my family, and I didn't want to tell them how I was really feeling, because I thought I was looking out for them. I didn't want to burden them. Um, I didn't want to cause them any more grief and any more heartache than they were already feeling. Okay. So that was the shame that I've come to realize, that I didn't know at the time that it was shame. I just thought it was, I was protecting them. Okay. So also in the shame, you get that, what could I have done differently? And I played that over and over and over again in my mind. What could I have done differently in the days leading to my dad's passing? Because not even 48 hours later, I had a person, a someone in the medical field, sit next to me and tell my dad and I that he only had 6 months to live. And not even 48 hours later, my dad was gone. So in my mind, I'm like, what could I have done differently? What should I have seen? What could I have said? Did I tell my dad I loved him enough? Did I make sure that he ate enough? Should I have checked him better to see that he was losing weight and I didn't recognize it because he was hiding behind big clothes? Should I have checked the garbage to see if he ate everything that I prepared for him? If he drank everything that I poured for him? If he took his medicine like he was supposed to? What could I have done differently? And that's all part of it. That's part of what we go through in the process. Maybe I could have done this instead of that. Those are things that just goes through your mind. You can't help it. And the next is the guilt. It's that emotion that can turn irrational real quick. It's that feeling of responsibility, the inaccuracy, the regret, even when it's unfounded. It's just something that we go through. It's something that I went through. I felt the guilt. I felt like there was more that I could have done and I just didn't do it. I should have saw it. Why didn't you see it, Sonya? It was there. Or one isn't grieving enough. It's that extreme guilt, or having moments of joy. I call it the pockets of joy, because truth be told, there was times when I would laugh, I would smile, I'd find a moment of happiness because I was thinking about my dad. And then I would regroup myself real quick, like, oh my gosh, why am I smiling? Why am I laughing? Like, why am I joking? Like, why am I looking joyful? I can't do that because somebody's gonna think that I'm being disrespectful, that I should be deep in grief and I should be crying and I should be mourning. And the appearance is that I'm not doing that for a minute. How could I do that? So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to be popping back and forth because it's important for me. I don't want to miss the comments because I want to in the mode, excuse me, of guilt, as I've come to find out, it's called survival guilt. It's called survival guilt. And that is, we feel that guilt that we're still alive and our loved one is not. We often sometimes wish we can change places with someone. That's called survival guilt. So I just want to take a pause for a minute to say this. You see, we all have been broken. We've all have been broken in our lives. Every last one of us. You might be in that season right now. You might be going into that season. As it is often referred to as you're going in a storm, you're in a storm, or you just came out of a storm. No, there'll be more storms to come. But when a crayon is broken, it's still valuable. We've all used crayons one time or another in our lives. None of us can say that we haven't. But the remarkable thing about that crayon is it still will color. It still will color. Maybe the cosmetic of it looks different. Maybe it's a little shorter. It still colors. It still colors beautifully and brilliantly. And that's what I want you to take away from the step that I'm about to give you. In order for you to begin the healing process, if you haven't already, one moment here. Here we go. I'm sorry. Said we got muted somehow, but these five steps so that you can begin the healing process, okay, if you haven't started already, and or progression, okay? Acknowledging emotions is number one. And with that, acknowledge how you're feeling, whether it be the guilt, whether it be the shame, or whether it be blame. Acknowledge how you are feeling. Don't judge yourself. Please don't judge yourself. Okay? For that self-compassion, that forgiveness of self, okay? Permission to treat yourself in the same kindness that you would be kind to someone else if they were in your situation. Give yourself that permission to treat yourself with the same kindness that you would offer to somebody else if they were in the same situation. Okay? And then there's number 3. Eliminate the negative self-talk. Be aware of it. Be aware of the negative thoughts that shame preys on, because shame does that. It will prey on you with that negative self-talk, okay? Replace it with positive affirmations. Like an example is, I am worthy. I am worthy. I am more than adequate. More than adequate. I am. Control the controllables. And we've spoke a lot about that in previous podcasts. So I want you to go back and look. Go back and view them. Listen to them. Number 4. Self-care, self-love. You know I talk about that all the time. You know, every Saturday and every Sunday I'm talking about, okay, you should have at least 3 to 4 times for the week, not every day. You should have given yourself self-care and self-love. But if you haven't, here I am on Saturday to remind you, and here I am again on Sunday to remind you again. Okay? Focus on your physical and your mental well-being. It's important. Without that, you're nothing. Without that, you are nothing. Set aside the time to rest. Get your sleep on. Something I'm working on myself, because honestly, I don't. It's very hard for me to sleep 8 hours. I wish I could. But take time to relax. Eat healthy. Exercise. And set those boundaries. And I'm not here because I thank you for that. In the comments, so out of struggles and mix and storms, we still can find the beauty of life. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Jacksonville. Thank you for your strength, and thank you for yours. I'm glad you're getting pure value. You do. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate me. It's about you. I want to make sure we're getting you. And I see experiencing some audio issues on. Yes, okay, good. I'm glad. Okay. Weather related. Absolutely. Okay. You can relate with the sleep. Yes. And I see the value here. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. Sleep is something I am really working on. I started by 10 o'clock. That's it for me. That's it for me, because I do, after a couple hours, I do wake up. I do wake back up. And so I'm getting maybe 2 or 3 hours, 4 at the most. But I try to work on that. I really push myself to try to go back to sleep for a little while. And I don't say try, so do. I do make it a point too. We all know we're not triers, we're doers here, right? We're boss warriors, and we are doers on the Sonya Dungee podcast. Massive value. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. So with that is also with the self-care and the self-love, try the exercising, not try, do exercise, do meditation, deep breathing, set boundaries with non negotiables. It's more than okay to say no and mean it. I can't and I won't. This is my time for me. Everything else can wait. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Okay? Make your joy a priority. And I had to learn that because I didn't do that. Everybody else and everything went before me. But now I make my joy a priority. My happiness is important. My non negotiables are non negotiables. And then lastly is number 5, and that is seek the support of mentorship. Seek the support of mentorship and community. And I am a transformation coach. And I've shared this with you before through my testimony that I know that my life is purposeful. I've always known that. Death was at my door on several occasions. I knew God had a purpose for me. I knew that I needed to move forward, never forgetting, never, ever to push past the grief. I knew I had to push past the grief because I knew how it was affecting me. Okay. And now I talk about the gift that my dad has left me. And I shared that about him asking me, did I get the gift that he left me? And did I? Because now I'm a blessed transformation coach. And I get to help the women that are in their early 30s to their mid 50s who are broken, stuck in that grief, the hardship, those life challenges, that are suffering in silence the same way I was, with no direction and no end in sight. You see, I get to help them to become resilient and empowered with an attitude of expectation and of excellence so that they can reach their economic independence, so that they can be destined for their greatness and they can thrive while walking fully in their God given purpose. And so that's what I do. And that's what I want to do for all of you. So if there's someone out there that can relate to my story, that found validity in the things that I was saying and shared tonight, that listen to the 5 steps and follow them, I'm willing to give you 30 minutes of my time, one on one, with a heart to heart with Sonya. Free consultation. You bring your draft and I'll bring my proven life blueprint system and I'll help you to begin your journey of forward progression, to begin your journey to be able to thrive, to find purpose, to achieve your goals and your dreams. I'm willing to do. I will send you my calendar link. I promise you. And also in number 5, beside seek the support of mentorship with a mentor that is talking to you, that is giving you the skills from life experience such as myself. You also need community, a network of supportive people that will never judge you, that will lift you up, empower, that will support you, that is at least a level above you, that is in the direction in which you're choosing to rise above. And if you don't have that type of community, and you really sit down and you start thinking of the people that you're allowing in your environment to surround you, well, maybe it's time to start demoting and promote others. Because I could not have done that on my own. My willpower in those 342 days got me nowhere, nowhere fast. It wasn't until, as I said, the enough became enough, and that I started to move forward, and I needed the direction, and I knew I needed the support, and I knew I couldn't do it by myself. And I found myself a mentor who told me if I was teachable, coachable, if I did the work, and if I showed up, he would help me. Boy, oh boy, did I pour into myself. And almost 5 years later, I'm still doing the same. I'm still learning and growing. I still am a forever student. How can I put myself in front of someone and say I'm a transformation coach, and I sit down and we have classes and I give you master classes, and we progress from there, if I'm not learning and growing myself? And because there'll be a point in time when what I've learned along the way isn't going to be enough. So I should find yourself that community, get yourself that support, acknowledge self-compassion and forgiveness of self, eliminate the negative self-talk, acknowledge your emotions, practice self-compassion and forgiveness of self. I'm sorry, I went ahead of myself. Eliminate that negative self-talk. Practice self-care and the self-love. Finally, support mentorship. Okay, and community is what you need. And then, with that being said, there's some other things that I want to share with you tonight coming in. And I don't want to not acknowledge anybody's, dropping my microphone here. I don't want to not acknowledge somebody's comments. Yes, I think we all have that problem dealing with the sleep. Absolutely, we do. I can attest to that for sure. And I know some of you on here, it's the same. You're not sleeping, because those of you who are on here, you'll text me late at night or call me early morning. So I know you didn't get your sleep on either. All right. So I also want to acknowledge tomorrow night, I am doing a special episode, which will be episode 190. See if I can show you here. One moment. See if I can get this to work now. Okay, maybe not, but it's okay. So tomorrow at 8:30, special episode number 190, Halloween must-knows. We're going to talk about Halloween must-knows, okay? They're very important. I've been doing some research, and we're going to be talking about the blue bucket that, okay, so please join me tomorrow night at 8:30. Okay, now it's catching up. Okay, so let's go back a moment. So if you didn't hear me, because I see that I got lost for a moment in the translation here, but tomorrow night I will be having a special episode 190, and Halloween must knows. Okay, so please join me tomorrow at 8:30. Seems like we got frozen again here. Okay, so I'm freezing again. Okay, so finally, lesson class, a broken crayon, still colors, 5 key considerations to move from grief and hardship to a changed perspective and a found purpose. That will be Wednesday, November the 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you would like to register, we do have seats available. DM me Color My World, and I will send you the registration link to that as well. So be careful, because if you Color My World, you're going to get my registration link to sign up for the Boss Masterclass, as well as with a heart to heart with Sonya as well. Being said, let's see if we. But anyway, with that being said, I want to thank you all for joining tonight. We do have some technical problems. I know that, but seems to be coming from the weather. So you might not see my face again, but I apologize. But doing my best to come out of here, but it doesn't want me to. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. But with that being said, be safe, stay well. God bless you all. And bye for now. Looking forward to seeing your registration, and I will see you all tomorrow. Here I am. I will see you tomorrow for episode 190 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good night.